Good morning, dear colleagues. Glad to be a part of a community. My name is Dmitrii. I want to share a personal story about managing innovative products in a pretty exotic industry, the manufacturing of electric vehicles. I have been managed IT products for a long time, over the past 15 years. All of them was linked with development of user interface. Last 3 years, I have been creating digital products at Arrival. And it's about this new experience what I would like to tell you. One of our principles is work reflects to well-known lean startup cycle. It's important because it helps to create the procedure how to create teams what can be quickly learned but making their own mistakes, and this method can be scaled by multiple teams. And that's why I would like to build my speech according to the stage of this cycle. I tell you what a company idea spark employees. In the second part, I will show how the process of developing innovating product works. And final part, I will explain why the user experience testing is necessary for such products. I'll start with description of our company. Arrival develops commercial electric vehicles. We are an international company headquartered in London. Currently, our product line includes a bus, van, and a taxi. Our goal is significantly reduce the production cost of electric vehicles, making them equal in price to those on traditional fuels. First of all, for it, we plan to use microfactories. Instead of giant factories with a conveyor belt, Arrival is building cells with robots. Each cell can perform different assembly operation and quickly reconfigure to the new ones. This allows us to organize the production in a small area in a short period of time with a little capex for local vehicle demand. Second key factor is composite materials, unique recyclable fabric, what turns into the plastic when heated. We use the materials instead of steel, and it makes it possible to remove the most expensive welding, stamping, and body painting operations. This is a recyclable fabric, and it significantly reduces the vehicle weight with the same safety. Third factor is the in-house production of many automotive components: battery, electric motors, inverters, steering wheel, communication module. So we reduce the cost, speed up components manufactured by robots, and reuse them between the different models of our transport. The grid design allows to upgrade each detail the same as a part of computers. And last factor is proprietary software. More than 500 programmers from 2,400 employees create all international tools, in-vehicle soft, and application for customers. Kind of user interfaces create a digital environment around the transport. And since there are many users and touch points, so there are more questions than answers here. For instance, what would the control panel looks like for electric van and for a bus? What can driver do with this vehicle remotely when he is on the street, in the depot, or at home? How will managers receive information about their fleet and how to plan their work? What will be the bus inform passengers about its routes, stops, and arrival times? Finding answer to such question is a core of our IT products, and it's very different from the experience with which many employees came to the company, including me. Most striking difference, you don't have a leading product yet, but digital system around it should launch at the same time as it. There's nobody bring you the requirements and priorities. All the strategy of digital products is based on the hypothesis. Product has no real users yet, and you cannot get data from a product metrics. Teams develop the system in parallel, so the result of one always affects others. This freedom creates a product from scratch. It turns into a dangerous problem of motivation. People in a team, people cannot see the result of their work. They begin to withdrawal because of product has no users and no load. It's not very certainly what we are doing all what expected from us, and desire of writing the perfect code becomes a problem. So to address these uncertain requirements, we build a structured development process to such products. In short, agile methodology alone doesn't help in such products, because the development iterations can confidently, step by step, lead to total product crash. To explain why this might happen, agile consultant Henrik Kinberg coined the term Bastardized Agile, and he drew an illustration demonstrating this disaster using an example of a car. So, of course, it's a metaphor. In the top line, iterations are formed as a regular production of models of product, and the user has the opportunity to test the product only in the very end. This means big surprise, which may not be always positive. At the bottom, on the contrast, each iteration is an intermediate product. After each step, the user can try and get the feedback. And of course, for first iterations, this feedback is likely to be negative, but it will be valuable. This approach has become known as a skate approach. If a user asks for a car, first give him a skate. And it's exciting, but the skate has now really become the first product for modern vehicles. This is the name of a platform consisting of a chassis, a battery, and the electric motor. Henrik's joke became reality. And this is the skate of arrival van. That's why we asked ourselves this critical question: what should we bring to the users in the following iteration? What will be our next step to them? To be able to answer, each team has a three roles. Product lead is responsible for scope and priorities. He keeps in the loop communication with our teams and stakeholders. Tech lead is responsible for implementation and evaluate the complexity of suggesting solution. And design lead is a user advocate. He offers the most convenient solution. They all together decide how to follow function turns out. We go through the 5 stages when developing product features, and they are pretty traditional, but I will show a real example for our case. First of all is drawing the customer journey map. We use Miro or Figma. We create separate schemes for each type of users, describe stages, user actions, context. On the second step, we defining job stories, an attempt to describe the context and motivation of a person in each his action. It's crucial not to explain how we are doing it now or how we will like them to do it. We keep this job story or in Notion or in Jira, and here's an example of this description formula for job story. Third step, testing of hypotheses, customer development. We are looking for our potential users and ask them the excursion, ask them the open question, take pictures of a workplace. Main task is confirm or deny the CGMs, draft version of CGM or job stories. Find the details, how we perform this task right now and how often. We pay special attention to the announcement on the walls. This is the key to what operation are problem now, where failures are constantly happen. Next step is creating user value in our product. Based on the collected data, we create a blueprint. This scheme shows the ideal to-be state, how we would like users to complete the job stories using our product. Blueprint allow us to determine the scope of the product features, what we want to provide. Here's an example of our blueprint. He has the layers, CGM steps and job stories, user actions in our interface, product functions to support them, and dependencies with features of our system which should be implemented. Next, we prioritize the project features, which part of a blueprint we want to show users first, and then we implement it in such a way as to allow users to try it. Last and most important step is testing the implemented feature on our potential users. It's an important milestone for a project. We believe that a feature is not ready until it can be UX tested on potential users. And I want to talk about how exactly it happened. We are two teams involved in the preparation phase. The UX research team is responsible for finding respondents and preparing the script for them. The product team is responsible for preparing the list of hypotheses, test tasks, and environment. It's usually the goal of 1 or 2 sprints before testing. Preparing is easy if a product has the blueprint, because its description could be easily converted into the test task for respondents. At the same time, we together have an internal dry run and fix all bugs what could block the test session. We always invite the whole team on the test itself. We implemented a YouTube broadcast for a Zoom version to not confuse the respondents by the crowd of people. At the end of testing, we ask them open-ended question: how do the task relate to what we do at work? Which one thing you would recommend to improve in product, first of all? And how would you describe this product to your colleague at work? One of our major clients is UPS, and we work very closely with his drivers to take into account the requirements and wishes as much as possible. And he's an excellent example of how the appearance of the van changed after the such session. You can see the alpha and beta version of our van. Beta version looks into account all the wishes for comfort and safety expressed by the drivers. For example, the driver's seat was pushed back behind the front wheel. Of course, testing the experience of our passengers of the bus is just important. We define different categories of the citizens and get answers of the question: is it convenient to enter, seat, or exit from the bus? Are the screen visible enough from all seats? Is the information comfortable for reading? Is it clear how to cause stop by on demand? Results of each UX researchers is an essential resource for company. If company said what he want to do something convenient, these materials confirm this. UX researcher keep all records and prepare the special reports for different group of readers. More detailed presentation is sent to the product team, and at the same time, a short summary is published as an internal news for the whole company. To sum up, we would like to stress what significant impact team motivation, because we use UX research as a milestone for our IT product. We use UX testing in the product to create reason for positive team motivation. Observation of a research session helps team members to see the real emotion of potential users and bring confidence to the product team. To keep positive vibes during lean startup stages, crucial to make functions so it will not be a pity to throw them away after each iteration. The team should look for a minimal implementation for a test product hypothesis, and the desire to reuse what were already been done might be the way to create a Frankenstein monster like that. in the end, I would like thank you to my colleagues, because with their help, I can tell about our collective experience to build such a product development process at arrival. Thank you, and I'm ready to answer all the questions.
Thank you, Dmitrii. It was very interesting to listen about your experience at arrival. Especially because I'm not from this field, I'm from advertising tech, and it was quite like a new way of looking at how the products are built. So thanks for that. And there are some questions asked by our participants, and also I have a couple of them from my side. The first one would be, can you describe or give some examples of your internal processes around hypothesis testing with the end users? Because it's quite interesting how this testing is carried out in the real world with the end users, like with the drivers and with people who ride your buses, for example.
So we have two different hypotheses. First one is product hypothesis, and we try to test it before we start implementation. We have a special excursion for potential customers and special interviews with potential customers, try to gather this information and get a proof or deny our hypothesis before we start implementing. So it's a first stage. Second stage, when we have a first implementation of some features, we try to bring it to our potential users and ask them to test it, to use it as in real life. We create a special testing environment for them and kindly ask them, please use it as you can do it in your real life, and get us your feedback. So it helps us to get a second wave of understanding about the product hypothesis. Is it useful and is it valuable for users? Because we can understand what it's valuable, but we did it in the wrong way. So in this case, we reconstruct, redevelopment the feature. If you understand what we do, something what is very not important or not be used by our users, so we threw it away and get the second next hypothesis.
How do you evaluate whether there is enough sample of users who passed through your research, through your hypothesis testing, in order to figure out whether you need to keep this feature or rework it or throw it away?
So right now it's a very rare participants, for rare users for us, because it's not too easy to find enough quantity of fleet managers, for example, of buses, for example, in particular country. It means what almost all our hypotheses, except of sitting and something what is interaction with the real world. I mean, the weight, height of users, of drivers. Of course, we use it a quantity approach for it. But for some digital products, what has a very narrow, let's say, rare users, we use the quantity product research. It means what we try to find no more than 10 users and get a first approval of our hypothesis only on these ones. Because if we understand what no of them did not interest in our feature, it means what we don't need to find new users to continue do what we want, what we are doing before.
Okay, thanks for the answer. So one question from me. As far as I understood, basically the mission of Arrival is to build like a new era of electric commercial vehicles, right?
Exactly.
So my question is, like more than 100 years ago, Henry Ford said that if I would have asked my end users, what would you like to have? For your mobility, they would have answered a faster horse. So how do you balance between this feedback from the end users and the end mission of your company?
It's very exciting question. Thank you. It's very important to keep it always in your mind. What all the answers of your potential users, it's a look back on their own experience. It means what they cannot ask them something about future, about next product, about how would you use this exciting new product and something like that, because they don't bring you the honest answer. It means what you need always find the right way to ask about their problems and decide yourself how your new product can solve this problem better than the current way to do it. So it always, conversation was always about the products, about the fears, about the gains, about the goals, about the ideal day, for example, but not about the new products, because you don't get the right answers, honest answers.
Okay, got your point. Thanks. And another question that we have is around the user stories that you shared, how you write them. The question is about what are the main parts of the user stories that you have, that you write at arrival, and what are the main components that you recommend should be in there when you basically write business requirements for features? How do you prioritize user stories and so on?
Sorry, I don't clearly understand the question. So what part of user story?
So in the beginning, you were talking about user stories and how you write them, like when the user wants something, do what. So I would like you to elaborate on how basically you write the business requirements for the features of your product, and what are the main components of these business requirements. Like you mentioned different user stories. Okay, you got the question. Cool.
Okay, so first of all, the user stories is something very eternal, because we can implement our iteration of our products and renovate, rebuild our products many times, but job story will be the same. It means that's why it's a core point for us to identify the job stories, and then during iteration try to solve the stories, job stories again and again. And business requirement is something what we have. We are ready. How we are ready to help users in his job story right now on our current state of maturity of our product. It means what we can rethink about our vision, how we will help our users with the same job story after the first iteration, for example, after the first interviews, after the second wave of interviews. And in business requirements, we always put our vision of ideal to be state as a part of blueprint. It means what our blueprint is exactly the way what we think how our users should what actions our users should do in our interfaces to solve the job story. And it's exactly what we want to test during user test. Is it the right solution for job story or not? So we need to rebuild it again and again. So and in this case, business requirements for us is something what is quite uncertain until we understand what exactly this way we will create our product, because we know what it's a right way. So we got the arguments, what exactly this way, for example, for open the doors. Very easy example, how where our drivers expect to open the doors. There's many technical variants for opening the doors, but only one of them will be the best fitted, let's say, to the expectation of our users right now.
Agree. Thanks, Dmitrii, a lot for answering the questions and for the insightful presentation.